Welcome to the Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with your host, Charlie Butler. This is where you'll learn to sell your home quickly and for more money. And now, the host of the Real Estate Show, the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler.
Good Sunday morning, Tri-State. This is Charlie Butler, and this is the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show. And today, of course, as always, my co-host, Evie Barr.
Happy Sunday morning to you, Charlie.
Well, thank you, Evie. And how did the week treat you?
The week is always awesome. Could always use more customers. That's my biggest complaint.
Even though it's been good, you know, we're always ready for more, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. And recently there was a program change that I wanted to mention. Okay. The USDA, as of October 1st, they are dropping their guarantee fee from 2.75% to 1%. What all of that means is okay, the USDA Rural Development Housing Loan Program offers no money down in rural areas. They have this guarantee fee that they finance up front into the loan amount. So if you were purchasing a $100,000 house, the guarantee fee previously would have been $2,750. It's now been dropped to 1%. So
$1,000.
$1,000. So the other change that happened was the monthly, they call it an annual fee paid on a monthly basis, very similar to your mortgage insurance, but it has dropped from 0.5 to 0.35% based on your loan amount. So your payment's going to come down a little bit more as well.
Yeah, so right up front, you're saving $1,750.
Correct.
Right up front.
Correct. And it might give you, depending, of course, on what your debt-to-income ratios look like, it might give you a little extra room to bump up what your purchase price is, because in the end, your payment amount's going to come down as well.
So when you say it's good in rural areas, are we talking about like Deliverance rural areas where we're going to start hearing banjos playing? Is that, or can it be a little less rural than that?
You do not have to hear banjos playing for it to be eligible. Okay. In our area, where it would be eligible would be Boonville, Linville, Fort Branch, Poseyville, Mount Vernon. If you're looking in Vanderburgh County, you need to be in the northern part of Vanderburgh County.
North of Boonville, New Harmony, is that correct?
About through there. It's always good to check the maps, so I hate to give you a definite yes because the maps do change from time to time.
Can you remember off the top of your head the website for that map where you can find that? I cannot.
I believe if you Google USDA property eligibility, it will pull up to where you can bring up the map. And with the map, all you have to do is input the address that you're looking at, and it will zoom in on it. Also, it brings up automatically a map of the United States, and you can just zoom into the Evansville area and keep on zooming until it goes to the street map, right? And it will show you from there. On the west side, I think the dividing line is Big Cynthiana Road and everything west of it. Newburgh is an excluded area as well, just because these rural areas are based on population density. So in Newburgh, I want to say maybe north of Jenner Road, and I think it might right now be east of Anderson Road are the eligible areas.
So, and I don't think we mentioned it, but Chandler is also eligible too, right?
Yes, Chandler definitely is.
Okay, great. And if you're interested in this, besides calling Ev, give us a call at the Charlie Butler team. We do a lot of these, or at least we'll go out and show you the houses that will work in these programs, and then get you with Evie. As Evie said, there are no money down programs.
If you cannot locate the map for some reason, but you have a property address, I have the map saved as one of my favorites. You can always give me a call at 812-463-3199, or you can email me asking about at ebar@waterstonemortgage.com.
And if you're looking for that property and you see something that falls in this, and you want to see that property, give us a call at the Charlie Butler team. Our numbers, you can call our buyer's agents at area code 812-430-1708, and one of them will be really glad to help you. They'll get a property identified right away. They'll get you to Evie to get you pre-approved. So that's one of the things. That's something I'm so glad we're pre-approving people early in the process now, unlike what we used to do, because someone would fall in love with a property and they couldn't buy it at that price. And then we'd have to come down $25,000, $30,000, whatever, to get to their price range. And now you're able to tell them pretty well up front how much they can afford.
That's exactly right. It is so important to get pre-qualified or pre-approved before you start searching for homes or getting out and actually looking at homes. It saves everybody time in the end. It's easy to get pre-approved. If you give me a call, it usually takes about 15 to 30 minutes, let's say, to take your application, depending on how many questions you have about mortgage financing. I always do same-day approvals. If for some reason I don't have you approved by the end of the day, if there's an issue I need to check on, I'll call you back and let you know. But generally, it's same-day approvals. Once I tell you you're pre-approved for X amount, then you can hit the ground running. Plus, your realtor knows that you're a serious buyer, right, and that you've already started the process.
You know, all those years ago when I was in real estate class, and don't say they were using stone tablets back then, okay? But I can remember the instructor saying, don't ever put, this is many years ago, and they said, don't ever put anybody in your car unless they're pre-approved.
I actually had a realtor, and I know he's not the only one this has happened to, but he had shown this person no telling how many properties. I want to say at least over 20 properties. And finally he told him, you need to get pre-approved. And I pulled this person's credit, and I've got to call the realtor back and say, hey, we have major issues. And the realtor said, I thought he'd be fine. In this day and age, you cannot just judge a book by its cover, because you don't know whether or not people truly pay their bills. And there's some instances. I had one borrower here recently. Somehow his name had gotten joined up with another person of the same name that lived in Kansas. My borrower lives in Indiana. And there were about 3 credit cards on there that were not his. It was this other person's. So those are things that we need to attack up front and get resolved right off the bat.
And it's funny, but speaking of paying your bills, I guess this is a great lead-in for our guest today. Our guest is actually from the Charlie Butler team and has been since 2001. Is Mindy Malinsky, and Mindy is our foreclosure and investment specialist. How's it going this morning, Mindy?
Really great. Thanks for having me on.
Not meaning to make light of people not paying their bills or unfortunately having situations, but you want to explain first kind of what you do, Mindy?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, for those that don't understand, a foreclosure is a property that is now owned by a bank or a third-party company. So the only difference is you don't have a personal seller. It's more of a corporation. So what my job is I solicit to the banks and the asset companies to list their properties for them. I do everything from evictions, if we have to go that route, cash for keys. We do re-keys, clean out the property, and basically get them ready to put on the market and to sell them.
So these are properties that the banks have already taken back. They've been through. I guess for the people that don't know, we've got time here. Let's kind of go through the process from when you first get contacted, usually, right up through sheriff's sale. And I mean, some of these terms people aren't going to know. So let's just try to break this down for them a little bit.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, understand that, life happens. Sometimes there's job loss or people switch jobs. They have medical bills. And, when it comes down to it, the bank doesn't want the house back.
Absolutely, they don't.
I think a lot of people get stuck in thinking, I'm just going to avoid it and not make contact with them. They really want to help you out. So within the first 30 days or so, you'll receive a letter saying, hey, we understand you missed a payment. Is there something that we can do for you? They will try to continue that for the first 30 to 90 days.
Let me stop you real quick there for a second, Mindy.
Sure.
In that first 30 days, when you get that letter, as you said, and we've seen this over the year, people ignore those. Either they're in denial, they're embarrassed, or I've heard people say they're not going to take my house.
Right.
It's kind of a denial thing. What should they do when they get that first letter?
Call the number on the letter. Whether it's your local bank, whether they've sent it to a third party, just call them. In that first 30-day period, they really want to work with you. Like I said, they don't want to take this house back. It's not going to benefit them at all. They want to work with the borrower and see what they can do with them.
So I interrupt you, but I just wanted to kind of get that out. But
no, it's all
so
right.
after that first letter, then it goes from there.
Yeah. Depending on how long it goes without contact, around the 90-day period, they start saying, hey, we're going to send it to what they call loss mitigation. And what those people do, they're kind of like the second tier of collectors. They want to see if they can refinance the loan, if they can move payments to the back end of the loan. What can they do to keep the borrower in their home? If that continues for, I think, 90 more days, then it gets sent to the foreclosure aspect of the bank. And despite what people think, once it goes to that, there's really nothing else that can be done. It will be sent to the local county. They will process everything, send it to the sheriff's office, and then they send it to sheriff's cell by then.
So from the date of the first late payment going 30 days past due, it normally takes, 6 months, 9 months to hit foreclosure?
It's usually about a 6-month process.
Okay.
So you've actually, people that know you think of you as a foreclosure specialist, but you actually try to help people also earlier on in the process.
That's correct.
When, as we said, whatever happened, I get this letter and I'm behind on my mortgage. Okay. Instead of ignoring it, and I call you, hey, Mindy, I'm behind on my mortgage and I owe $100,000, but I can't pay $100,000.
Right.
So we tell people to call you, but what can you do? What do you do at that point?
I think what people don't understand is there's an option called a short sale. And what that means is we negotiate with the bank to take less than what is actually owed on the mortgage. And that way the borrower can walk away. They don't owe anything at the end of the transaction. It's just a process to allow them to not owe as much as they did originally. So that is always an option. And we have done several of those over the years. And, it's fairly simple to do. The borrower will have to provide some information, tax returns, check stubs from their jobs, different financial information. We need to build as much of a case for the bank for them to say, hey, we can do the short sale with them. So there is some work that is involved, but it is very possible to help the borrower out in that way.
If you do a short sale, what happens to the funds that are left over? Say it was a $100,000 loan. You did a short sale and got $80,000 in proceeds that went back to the bank. What happened to the other $20,000?
The way we understand it is that $20,000 is kind of like it's a write-off because they're going and agreeing. The bank is then agreeing to say, hey, we are not going to come back for them for the difference. So we're really just trying to help them not owe the rest of that money.
And in today's climate, I mean, Mindy's been doing this a long time, and as she knows, it used to not be, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy now, but, there was a time when you got behind, you ignored the bank a couple times, and that's pretty well it. They were going to foreclose on you then.
Right.
10 years or so, 10, 12 years ago.
About 10 years ago, I mean, you would miss one payment and somebody was at your front door. Now the banks are really willing to negotiate. Like I said, they don't want the houses back. They want to keep people in their homes. As I've heard said before, it's one of the biggest purchases that people make. And they want to keep people in those homes. And so they are absolutely willing to do whatever they can and negotiate that with them.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
do you normally have the bank reach out to you and say, contact these people about listing it for a possible short sale, or is it more the homeowner reaching out to you in a short sale situation?
In most cases, it's the homeowner themselves.
Okay.
Rarely does the bank ever contact us and say, hey, we have these people that may need a short sale. It's usually the homeowners themselves. But I think sometimes people don't even understand that that's a possibility for them.
Okay. There are occasionally, Evie, some local banks, and there's some local banks and law firms that we work with that will reach out to us to try to avoid the whole process. But besides that, it's pretty well strictly the bank.
Yeah, it's strictly the bank themselves.
And I think a lot of people listening might be surprised. The local banks don't own that much real estate around here.
They really don't. I would say 95+% of the banks that I deal with are out of state. And that's very common. They have different corporations that they deal with. And so I deal with people from Florida, California, Chicago, Los Angeles, and everywhere in between. Very rare is it somebody local.
I mean, the loan may have, not to confuse anybody here, the loan may have been initiated locally, whether it be through Evie or whatever other bank, but, the banks sometimes, and Evie, this process probably better than we do, the banks sometimes didn't sell off the servicing to that loan.
And honestly, the majority of the time why a bank does sell the servicing on a mortgage loan is because to service the loan after you have your closing is just so expensive. I mean, you've got to monitor to make sure the payments are made. You've got to process the payments. You've got to keep up with the escrow for the homeowner's insurance and property taxes. There's a lot to it after you sign off on your paperwork. And so generally it's better for the bank financially to go ahead and sell the servicing.
Right. We see a lot of times where, and if someone looks at the sheriff's sales site, and of course the banks are on there, many times it's someone like Fannie Mae.
Yes.
That has a servicing.
Yes. There's very few banks in this area that do not sell the servicing of their loans. And sometimes you have a special circumstance where we may retain the servicing and do what we call shelve it, keep it in-house. Those are more special situations where we would do that. But any other time, we will go ahead and sell the loan. The different banks that I've worked at here locally, we've all sold mortgages.
Right. And Mindy, I guess, there are people, I'm sure they're listening think, well, I know she's saying she can help, but, I'm facing bankruptcy, job loss, whatever unfortunate situation comes up. And there people are saying, well, my credit's bad now. That doesn't really matter when we get the short sale process, does it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter what circumstances that you're faced or even what your credit score is. We can help you in that situation. So don't feel like, oh, I have too much. It's too much of a burden. We will help you. Absolutely.
And Mindy, I know, and I've seen you do it a lot. So how, how can people get a hold of you so you can try to help them get out of these situations?
Best is my cell phone. It's 812-483-1309. And my email is Mindy, MINDY, M like Mary, at kw.com.
And also, we'll talk to the investment community a little bit here also, or this could be homeowners too. You do, once homes are foreclosed on, you do list a lot of foreclosed homes.
Yes, that's what I specialize in.
And so if I'm a new investor, and this would be a good place for me to start, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
So, and you work with a lot of investors.
I do, yes.
I don't know why I'm asking these questions. I know the answers.
You've only known me for 16
Inquiring
years,
minds wanna
Charlie.
know.
But I guess where I'm trying to get at is that same number that you just gave would be great for investors to call you for if they're looking for something that's coming up, because you never know. We're looking at a property now that we're probably going to get from a bank that will go well into 7 figures, plus down to the $20,000 houses and everywhere in between.
Yes, everywhere in between. And the nature of some of my business is I do price opinions for some of these banks. So I know about what's going to come on the market before it even does. So if they're looking for specific property or things that are coming up, I can absolutely help them. So yes, feel free to call my cell number.
With the foreclosures that you list, are they all lowballed on the listing price? How in a foreclosure situation, what is the process any different in determining what the list price is going to be on? Because there's so many people that think, oh, I want to buy a foreclosure because I can get a deal.
Right.
As a lender, it's kind of a scary situation for me because I don't know what the previous homeowner has done to the house,
right,
or what shape it's in. But I mean, are there great deals to be had with foreclosures, or is that a myth?
I mean, there are, but it's not every single house. Like Charlie stated, we've listed them for $2,000 to $2 million and everywhere in between. The process of determining that price is exactly the same if it was a regular home. I go through the home, take pictures of it, look at any maintenance that would be required to make it the fair market value, and price it accordingly with homes that have sold and that are listed on the market. So we try to keep it as even across the board as possible.
If someone goes to buy a foreclosed property, what's the usual time frame on it? I know on a residential loan, if it's a conventional FHA loan, VA loan, it's going to take about 30 days from the date we sign the purchase agreement until the date of closing. What's the timeline like on a foreclosed property?
I mean, we're usually pretty good with 30 days, but sometimes here lately it's been 45, just because they have deeds that they have to process and get to the title company. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but I mean, 45 days is pretty standard.
So Evie, Mindy, I know, works with a lot of investors. They go in, they fix the properties up, and then they resell them. And they're usually very nice properties by this point. So these are properties from your end you'd be interested in financing at this point.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are some guidelines in place regarding flip properties.
Time frames and things like that.
Yes, and time frames. So we have to look at all of that.
Right.
But those are program specific, and we can always check into all that, and we'll tell you up front what we're getting into on that side of it.
And but yeah, so this is a huge part of the market. It's everybody says it's declining. I still believe that there are a lot of homes out there, and I think Mindy knows it, that the banks they got so many back they don't want to foreclose on right now. They're trying everything they can to work with people.
Yes.
And that's going to come to an end eventually.
Yes.
Yeah. We've seen it. We've seen a time period where there has been a little easier credit coming up, or in the last few years, and that always signals. I know people I think back to 2006 and people, when it was 2005, when it was so good.
Yes.
And the market was so good. That was also some of Mindy's best foreclosure years.
Yes, it was.
Because, you wouldn't think so, but because of the very easy credit at the time.
And that was just out of control.
And it was.
You were able to present your tax returns and do a stated income loan, not have to show any other income documentation, just say, here's what I make. Well, people were falsifying their tax returns. We weren't going back and double checking to make sure that was really what you filed with the government. Things were way too loose at that point in time. And people still get worried about, we're so tough on credit on the lending side, and we're not. We're just doing it the right way. We're being smart about it.
Right.
I always tell people, I like to sleep at night. I'm not going to get you into a bad financial decision just because you really want this house or because I want another deal. There's more to underwriting than that. We really do need to make sure you're going to make your payments every month. No offense. So Mindy doesn't wind up listing your house.
Right.
I'm sorry for that, but
okay.
We want to make sure that you have assets in the bank so you can cover the down payment. There's multiple factors that go into it, and we need to do that to make sure it's the right decision for you and for the lender, so we don't get the house back.
And you guys don't want it back, as Mindy said.
That's correct, because there's a lot to lose whenever we do get back. We would rather, which I've never worked on that side of mortgage lending, the foreclosure process. I do know though it costs a lot to go through that. The bank loses a lot whenever you have a foreclosure.
I bet the bank. Back when Integra was still in business, when there was a large investor that ran into problems, and Integra took a bunch of properties back, and so they have me come up to their REO department, which stands for Real Estate Owned Foreclosure Department, might as well say. And we walk in. I mean, had to get, they had security guards for these people, and their offices were bulletproof glass.
Oh, wow.
And so that because, somebody comes in mad about their home, getting foreclosed on or whatever. I mean, so they had security to get to that floor and then bulletproof glass once you got there. So,
wow. I wouldn't want to work in that department. No. I never have. Don't want to touch it.
If any questions for Mindy, just Charlie Butler Team's Facebook page, leave a private message there. Mindy gave you her cell phone. What was that again, Mindy?
It's 812-483-1309.
If you call Mindy there, or get a hold of us, get a hold of Evie Barr at
812-463-3199, or you can email me at ebar@waterstonemortgage.com.
And any real estate questions, just get a hold of us. Those numbers, my cell numbers are code 812-499-7758, or you can go to our website, thecharliebutlerteam.com. You can email me at cbutler@kw.com. Find me somewhere there, surely.
You're everywhere.
He is.
But so there's a lot going on. Again, Evie, my agency, told me when they listened to a couple of our shows, we're not identifying ourselves enough. I think of that with 2 minutes left in the show, So, they say during the show, you're not identifying yourself enough. So, I'm Charlie Butler from the Charlie Butler Team. Evie Barr from Waterstone Mortgage.
That's me.
And Mindy Malinsky from the Charlie Butler Team.
That's me.
And but we're the guys. If we can't sell your home, we'll buy it. And also, go ahead, Evie.
And one other thing I was going to mention is, if you have any topics you would like us to cover, or if you have any questions, feel free to either call us or send us an email, and we will discuss it on a later show.
Yes, we will, and we got some great guests coming up from different parts of the real estate industry. We're going to have builders coming up along with some different things. And as I get the cue to wrap it up. So anyway, Mindy, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
And Evie, as always, thanks, and have a great week.
You do the same.
For Evie Barr, Mindy Malinsky, this is Charlie Butler. Have a great week, folks. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler. Join us every week at this time to find out how to sell your home quickly and for more money. For more information, email cbutler@kw.com or visit charliebutlerteam.com.